What are we even talking about?
I want to talk about how you're an asshole to me.
Oh, you do look chunky. Look at you. Okay, get down. Good.
Hopefully it's working. Welcome to Awakening Warriors. We talk about life, love, lessons, and learning. I'm not a married man today. Noticed. Fuck. I don't even know what we're gonna talk about, dog.
I know, and you started it up, so here we go.
We were lazy pieces of shit last week, and we skipped last week's episode. So
Mainly just because we were tired and draggy and...
yeah, because of poor choices. We made poor choices, so that's how we ended up there. So, yeah. So last week, some recap. You crashed a snowmobile, so that was fun.
I did. We went snowmobiling on Saturday, and snowmobiles break a lot harder on grass and ground and not...
You weren't even braking, you were turning.
Yes, I was. Braking and turning. I wasn't just turning.
The braking wasn't what made you fucking tip. The
Yeah,
sharp
I think
turn.
it wasn't sharp. I think it was a
Sharp enough.
combination of the two. Because I'm used to like when I'm coming up on turns and when I need to slow down, like I still have that like give because you're on slippery stuff, you know? But then when the grass came, it just like dug into it. Like it literally stopped versus just like slowing me down. Anyway, so flipped it, tipped it, mainly just tipped it onto the side, but I fell off and broke part of the windshield and pretty sure fractured a little bit of my arm.
But she's too big of a pussy to test it, so we'll never know. So.
Because at the chiropractor they have a tuning fork, and so if something's broken, obviously, and you put something on it that vibrates like that, it will hurt a lot.
I did it for my foot. Like, once I knew that we could do that, I did it for my foot. Because he was like, oh, well, we can test if it's fractured. I'm like, okay, let's test it. So, yeah.
I thought about it after the fact and was like, I probably should have just did it, but also as soon as she like touched the one spot that it hurts, I like jumped, so.
New experience, bro.
So, yeah, that was that. Been working on the basement.
Yep. Talk about, like, couples that work together stay together, or some shit like that. Because that's the fucking truth. Being a team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've ever like discussed having like an actual team concept of marriage and shit. So.
Yeah. So that's actually one of my favorite pieces of advice for people who are getting married when we get them like wedding cards. I love to say like piece of advice. Always
Even
remember.
though they ain't fucking asking.
You've talked about this, like a great marriage and a good relationship, and these people are just starting off on this adventure of marriage, so they're not asking, but I'm giving. Always remember you're on the same team. And I think maybe it's one of my favorites to give is because it's probably also like I need to hear that, but yeah, I think working together lately, obviously we've been doing that in the basement.
Yeah, so our whole relationship has kind of been like a lot of working together, I guess, due to the fact that I've always done my own thing, and for the majority of our relationship. So basically, and you weren't willing in the beginning, you weren't a willing participant. I think that was kind of a developed trait of, just a developed trait.
I was thinking about that too, how we could hit on I think it even like fluctuates because the way that we work together now looks different just because like you are more of an employee now, so like I'm not with you.
Yeah. Yeah, so like originally, basically, you can go to the Bible and it talks about basically the woman being the helper, and I think a lot of women in marriages don't want to participate. Like that one fucking broad at yoga saying that she watched her husband get unstuck. I don't know if it was from her vehicle.
Stuck.
Yeah,
and then watched him from inside as he dug out.
Yeah, and she mentioned how like she was gonna stay in here and drink her coffee and in the warm and blah blah blah. Whereas like for me, male or female, whether you want to say, like, oh, you're a man, you should want your wife to be inside, whatever else, and sometimes that might be the case. Like sometimes I'm in the mode like I'll just fucking handle it myself, but other times there's like, it's better for the teammate, whether that's male or female, to go out there and at the minimum at least offer the help, because you are on the same team. So like, because I guarantee you, if that broad gets stuck next week in the fucking snowstorm, she's gonna want her husband out there to fucking get her unstuck. So like, it goes both ways. So you should be a teammate. Like being a teammate means being a teammate, not just like picking and choosing when you want to fucking participate. Like, oh, I want to participate in this moment, but I don't want to participate in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get how. Well, it'd be different though, because again, I wouldn't literally just be watching you do that. Like if I were inside not helping you, it's because I'm doing something else. Like I'm in the middle of whatever. I'm on a session, or I'm like, it's not like I'm literally just watching you. Like, oh, gee, that sucks. Like, and if you did need help and I wasn't doing anything, you'd come in and be like, yo, get your shit on. Like, I need your help.
Yeah. Typically, I only request that type of help when I need it. Like I need to be in the truck while you're doing something, or you need to be in the truck while I'm doing something, or some shit like that. Because most part, I handle shit myself. And that's even another thing, like when men, which I think is a big thing, and I don't know if we touched on it or not, but men feel like they need to protect their wives and shit. I can think of multiple different relationships where like there's withholding in relationships due to the fact that you're trying to protect the other one. It's typically, I see it mostly in men in my personal experience, because maybe it's because of I have a relationship with men, but that's typically their excuse is like, oh, I need to protect my wife. I'm like, for me, like, I don't think you need to protect your wife. Like, you need to protect your wife from, physical harm and shit like that. But your wife should be a fucking savage just like you in the aspect of taking criticism or, hearing things that might be unpleasant because, that's the truth, Like,
well,
you don't need to protect her fucking emotionally or, mentally or whatever. Like, obviously you can let her down in certain ways and stuff, but, like, still give them the information.
And even if they aren't a savage, because I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a savage like you, but it's still, I think, like not even giving that your teammate and your partner in life an opportunity to show you that they're strong enough to handle stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're not even, you just have this like perception of this person in your mind who's so weak and who can't even handle whatever. And part of that, so, and like working together terms. So if we go like back in time, I think, how did it start? Because I think like, I know obviously when you became an entrepreneur, that was definitely more, I was like hands-on. But before that, like when you were at Continental Dairy.
There wasn't anything really.
Okay.
There wasn't really anything because I wasn't even handy back then. I didn't know up from down or anything. So I remember I hired Greg to fucking do my thing, and it was a total shit show. It was a fucking horrible decision. And yeah.
So when you like went off on your own, quit your job, and started doing contracting stuff, that was like the first introduction for us of like
working together.
Yeah. Working together.
Because it's always nice to have a helping hand, right? And I can't I couldn't like justify trying to employ somebody, 100% of the time, but I could schedule around, your schedule for things that I needed help with. So then, if I needed help hanging drywall, I can hold it and then you can fucking screw it or some shit like that, And
this was back when I had a lot of flexibility. Because, like, I remember when we were finishing, which this is jumping ahead a little bit, but when we were finishing and working on the roof, like, I think I was still just...
after I'm married.
Yeah. I think, oh yeah. So this is going back even...
Yeah.
Well, when did you quit Continental? Wasn't that...
Mm-hmm. years before that, probably a few years, probably 2 or 3, I'm guessing.
Because then I'm thinking like when we started building which I didn't help a ton with this, but when we started building the garage, because that's when you were kind of like, you were helping Phil.
Yep.
You were working for Phil, right?
Yeah, I was working for Phil then. So, yeah. And you didn't really help then. You didn't really help on that. Yeah. So I was still in the process of learning. But the roof's a great fucking example, like, you know. So essentially, I was just gonna do a minor repair on the roof and do some fixing that needed to be done. And then when we tore it off, like, it was a way bigger project than what we'd expected. So there's way more damage, and we had to basically fucking reframe it and fucking resheet it. And I was planning on just taking a patch out, redoing of a OSB on the top, and then reshingling over it. Whereas I had to take all the decking off, or all the shingles, all the decking, and then fucking reframe it for, you know, 69 cents or whatever.
And that came after we did the fence, right?
The fence was directly after that, I believe.
I thought it was fence first.
Well, maybe.
And then roof.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you and Cam being up on the roof at one point in time, and me being in the back with the boys. So
you're probably right.
So that summer, I think, because I mean, when you were working with Phil, I didn't necessarily need to show up and help a ton because you were working for somebody else, and that's what you were doing. But I think that summer, like, well, because I also helped you with other ventures prior to this point.
Yeah, but it was very minimal. And, yeah, to a degree you helped a little bit. And it doesn't fucking matter. None of this shit matters at the end of the day. Because it's just the fact that...
The reason I want to hit on this is because that started our, like, big team mate. Like, we were living together still, but I think, like, when we actually started literally working together, and, like, that's not an easy space, especially when it comes to putting up a fence, and you're working in the hot, and I don't know what I'm doing, and we're, like... that it just like puts you in these like high tension, high stress, high whatever, and then we were able to get through like these massive projects together, like massive, because the fence and the roof were pretty intense. Yeah,
we cleared out the land together. We fucking did the fence together. We did the roof together. I mean, the fence alone was 120 posts, and we basically fenced in an acre and a half of land.
At least an acre. Yeah. For sure.
Oh yeah, it was over an acre.
And cleared a crap ton of it before that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that I think was like just a great intro into, like I said, just being like the teammate situation. Because then when you were like working on your own and like did need my hand with things, like I was already like, that's just what we did.
Yeah, and let's go back to the fact that, like, you know, you weren't raised with much of a work ethic.
No.
You know, you weren't...
Especially hard work stuff.
Yeah, like, you didn't have to do anything hard. You didn't have to do anything you really didn't want to. You know, therefore, like, when I wanted you to come out and do something, you know, whether that was on the roof or at that point you were a lot more open to it, but in the beginning before that you were, you know, very resistant. So, but I was persistent in, you know, the fact that, like, listen, you know, like, we're a fucking team, or, you know, I don't know if I necessarily had that mindset, but I'm like, listen, you know, you're fucking helping me.
Well, yeah, I don't know, again, if you, like, specifically said this, but kind of like the vibe of, like, this isn't just for me. Like, yeah. I'm not doing this just for me, so.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's a fucking team thing, and we're both reaping benefits from having a fenced-in yard. We're both reaping the benefits of redoing the roof. We're both reaping benefits from, you know, A, B, C, D, whatever that might be. Like, you're going to benefit from it as well. It's not just like, oh yeah, let's go build a man cave, and, you know, I'm gonna fucking have the man cave for myself, and I'm requesting.
Or the garage, because we drywalled that in together.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I have come a long way in terms of, like, that. Again, like, that's just what we do now. Like, if we're working on the basement, like, that's just what we do. Like, it's not like you're just doing it all on your own. But I still have resistance to it, like, at times. Like, there's still times you're like, all right, let's go work in the basement. And I'm like, oh, I don't freaking want to. But I think it's not, I don't know. It's not like the resistance that used to make us, like, want to fight and argue because you were like, bro, like, just help me, but more just, I don't know.
And that's the thing, you know, and as far as being a leader, because in a lot of aspects I consider myself the leader of the team in those
It's your
specific
team
areas.
captain.
Yeah. So, I have to be able to. I have to hold my shit together when things aren't going well and whatever else, which I've learned. Because I remember smashing the fucking. Because I was in way over my head when I did that roof. Way over my head. Just because it was more than what I anticipated, That was the only reason. And I had to work my way through it. I had to call Phil and ask. I had to do a lot of shit to make sure that I was like, I'm fucking doing this right type of thing. So, it was a stressful situation because I was like, dude, it took us, we had a tarp on our fucking roof for like a month.
No, it was a few weeks. But yeah, we had to tarp it because it was just...
Then I remember getting so frustrated with things not working out well and then things just going fucking south real fast. And I remember smashing my fucking rigid hammer thing on the thing. Remember that? I was like, motherfucker!
You still sometimes will hit tools on things.
I broke, no, not really. I broke the casing on my impact because I was freaking out so much because I was just so far in over my head, and even when we did Steve's crown molding,
that popped in my head too.
That was super frustrating and everything. So, but over the years I've gotten better as far as handling that stress instead of expelling it out and being mad at you and stuff like that. So overall, it's given me, more patience with you in general, just by working in those certain circumstances that has, bled over to other circumstances. Because those were such high stakes, right, situations, in high stress situations, the other situations now don't seem that bad, so they're easier to, deal with in that aspect. So
yeah, and that I think the literal working together part is just in our space because we're clearly working on the basement and stuff. But when you were entrepreneuring it up, just because that's what the protecting piece, coming back to that, there were even right before we left Michigan, there were things going on that were big, and as a man who wants to protect his wife, I could have easily seen that as being as what we were going through at the time, which I think we talked about in an episode, that would have been something that somebody could have withheld because it's oh my gosh, this is a big money situation, I made this mistake, things could be really bad here, so I'm just not going to tell her because it's a shit show. I'm just not going to tell her because she might worry. It's not, and that's not how it went at all, especially that's just not where we were.
Yeah.
But you think about these things that happen in life and your business when you're an entrepreneur and all this stuff, and it's we are very open with that. You are very open with that. Obviously, I just have my job and there's nothing for me necessarily to need to tell you in that area. But there's definitely been a lot of times in our life when
there's a lot of ups and downs.
When you've had stuff that would affect us, and I knew right away.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about this because now that I think back about it, I'm thinking about Sean and Sachs's one of the more recent episodes. They're talking about this type of thing. When that wasn't even planned. But yeah, showing her, whether an employee or entrepreneur or whatever, but showing her the nitty gritty of, everything, the ups and the downs and, all that stuff. Because, obviously I think that develops a stronger bond because then, like Saxony mentioned, whatever, so you show up softer at moments, because obviously, if I withhold it and I'm just, not telling you that I lost tens of thousands of dollars and,
right.
I'm fucking...
You walk in the house and I'm dude, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And
you just got here.
Yeah, you could fucking have some empathy for my situation or whatever.
Right, because I know where you're at and I know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I also think, especially for the downs, as scary as they can be at times, that also, brings us closer together because... she said too, it's our thing. Whatever this thing is impacts you, which impacts me. So if there's a big down moment or there's whatever, sharing that with me allows, not that it takes the load off of you because I just know you and you take that all upon yourself anyway, but it allows me to be able to show up and support you, and we can grow stronger in that crappy shitstorm together and move forward versus you just handling it all, emotions and everything on your own.
Yeah, which I think has always been one of our strengths in general, because like there is so much transparency in like what is going on. Like I didn't have to fucking separate any. I never separated anything really. So I feel like I've done that really well over the course of our relationship in years because I've never had the need to separate this from that. Like it is what it is. It's all the same. And a lot of people will separate business from house. This is who I am here. This is what I am there, and then there's no mix. But everything's always been constantly mixed. Like even with people like clients that I've had and stuff like that, like you've talked to and they've met you, and like there's just been so much like intertwinedness. So yeah, now because I'm thinking like for the instance the basement right now we're currently working on, that's one of our projects right now. That only benefits you because one, now you're going to live in the space, or have that space to utilize, whether you want to do fucking puzzles or yoga or whatever it might be. And then on top of that, at the end of the day, when we go to sell it, it's going to be more profitable as well. So that's just going to help us build. So you might not even see that money, but that money will go into the next house or whatever. So like instead of spending fucking 30 grand or whatever to have somebody complete our basement, we're doing it for 5, and now that $25,000 worth of sweat equity goes into our next house. So you get a fucking nicer kitchen, or a bigger house, or you fucking cash out and have a better car, whatever it is. So those are things that I think people need to think about in regards to when they do help, and not to mention the fact that when you do assist your significant other, that's bonding time. I never have time to hang out with my fucking husband. He's always in the barn and stuff like that. I can think of numerous relationships where like, oh yeah, the kids want to see me or whatever else. Why can't the kids come out and wrench on the cars with you? Like, what the fuck does it matter? This needs to get done, and there's no reason why your kids can't be out there with you, as long as they're well disciplined, which is on you,
Right.
And your wife could be out there too. Like, why can't you make it working on the car a family thing, or working down here a family thing? Like, why the fuck not? Hey kid, hand me the screws, hand me the drill, hand me whatever else. They're just, as long as they're well behaved, which is on you, you can make everything a fucking family thing. Like, what do you think they did back in pioneer times? Everybody's always like, oh, I don't have time to hang out with the kids enough, blah, 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 blah. Sure you do. You just fucking choose not to because you think that, you should have to be down here and you can't inconvenience your kids and your wife and whatever else because, they should get to stand upstairs and watch TV and fuck around on their phones or whatever. And then, you're down here, potentially resenting them, or they might be resenting you because you're doing this and you're trying to do it for the betterment of your family's lives, and in reality they want you there, and blah, it's a fucking vicious cycle.
Well, that makes me think too, like obviously we don't have kids, so our team right now is me and you, but like when you have kids, like they're on your team too. Like you, as a family unit, you should all want to like move forward and grow together, and like Ben pops in my head, like Ollie was like, bring your kid to work day or whatever, and then he went to the car wash, and like Ben needed to wash his trailer, and Ollie was there. Or, like if he's out in his barn, like Ollie's there with his like tools, doing whatever he's doing. Like it's possible, and if that's not how you're interacting now with your family, if you feel like you're not a team, if you feel like you're on different teams, like it will feel awkward and it will feel clunky, but it like that being a team and working together is going to benefit you 10 times over. More than that, probably. Like,
I think it's a necessary part of life, to have that type of stuff. Because think of all the benefits. One, you're more knowledgeable on, what's going on, how things work, because most women have no idea,
I can put in an outlet and make it work.
Yeah, granted, that skill might never fucking be an effect for you outside of what we're doing, but still, like, now you can carry on a more intelligent conversation and, so on and so forth. But also you can teach your kids shit, and those skills and life lessons and stuff like that. And then you're showing them, the example of you actually working and putting in the effort. So not only are you, Because, like, dad can be a hard worker, but you can never see dad and, you know, still be a lazy fuck because you never really experienced dad's hard working. You know dad's a hard worker, but, you know, that's only because you were told that, you know, because he was always gone and everything else. Versus, like, you know, have dad fucking come out and, you know, do his thing. So, I think that's I just think doing everything as a family unit for the most part will keep things together, because, like, you know, the bonding time, the intentional skill learning time, you know, and the benefits of the family and the productiveness of the actual time that you're spending in with projects, whatever. And that could be anything. That could be a mechanical project or a construction project or, you know, a fucking yard project or whatever it is, you know, like, get them together. Because, like, the team, once you think of yourself as like a unit, you know, then it's no big deal. So, like, oh, you get stuck, I go out there and fucking help you. I get stuck and need help, I request it, you go out there, you know, and fucking help me, or whatever it is. So, I think, you know, it just seems to me like that's a huge component to marriage, in my personal opinion.
I think a piece of it too that it kind of makes me think about, which, I mean, I don't know. There are certain things we've had flat out conversations, but like your position on the team, kind of. Like, as much as you are working as a whole unit, there's also sometimes like roles that people play. And like if you don't have those like conversations, things are going to get messy. Like, think of a football team. You have a kicker, you have a quarterback, you have your defensive line, offensive line. Like, everybody plays their part, but when everybody plays it together, then you have a winning football team. Like, a defensive line cannot win a game by themselves, but you also need the line to know what they're doing and play their part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like stay in your lane necessarily, but I think a lot of this brings it back to just like communication for me. But like a lot of couples and families don't communicate, and then there's like these like head bashing situations because there's no clear communication on who does what and when it's supposed to be done. And is this a us task? Is this a me task? Like,
fuck yeah, I'm dealing with a fucking rowdy ram right now, or I was. Jesus Christ, like, you know, we're not married, but we're on the same team, essentially. Right. You know, we all want this to succeed, and we all got different ideas, and we all got this and that going on, and, you know, so on and so forth. But if no one's communicating their desires or thoughts and everything else, they're like, oh, I did it this way, and then their guy was like, oh, I thought you were going to do it this way. Well, why the fuck would you think I'm going to do it that way? You never told me to do it that way. Otherwise, I would have done it that way, because I don't give two fucks. You know, I just did it however, you know, someone else told me or how I thought best or whatever. Like, okay, cool, you've got more reasoning and, you know, experience in the situation. Solid. Let me know, and then I can fucking adjust and do whatever. In the aspect of knowing your lane and roles or whatever, you know, for instance, for example, you know, I don't expect you to hold up the drywall. I don't expect you to fucking, you know, basically do any of the fucking heavy lifting, essentially, for the most part, besides, like, bringing shit in, potentially. You know, I do all the fucking heavy lifting stuff, and then you do the follow through stuff. So you cut a little bit of drywall, but the majority of the drywall I cut. You just cut a couple small pieces here and there, and then I would hold it, you would screw it, and then I would move on to the next task of cuts, and then you would continue to screw, because screwing's tedious and it takes time, and, you know,
I like it. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, and my time is better used elsewhere. You know, my time is better used cutting the drywall and hanging it rather than sitting there putting
and measuring the drywall
40, putting 40 screws in the fucking thing, or framing, because you don't know how to frame. You know, so if you screw and I'm framing and making sure all the fucking places are in pieces, and I'm measuring this and that and everything else.
Or, like, I'm going to need this many pieces cut at this level, or cut at this length. Like, okay, I can do that. Like, measure and cut while you're doing...
You can cut drywall. You can wire up an electrical outlet. You know, you can do all these little, you know, the smaller detailed things. And then I will do the, you know, bigger bullshit things. So... And, you know, for instance, if I had a kid, depending on the age, of course, you know, like, I'd teach an 8-year-old probably how to wire an outlet. You know, I have no problem doing that. You know, but if he's only fucking 4, then I'm going to have him just hand me screws and shit. You know, like, here, hand me some screws, hand me the gun, hand me this, hand me that. You know, like, obviously, every teammate, you know, depending on age and, you know, potentially gender, might have a different skill set. So then you have to be able to utilize each individual in
Their areas of strength.
Yeah, their unique skill set, like I can't expect you to fucking, here, hang this fucking drywall, I screw it, like that's unreasonable. I'll just fucking put it up, I have the best capability of doing that, and then you can pop a couple screws in it, and I can move on to the next one, So, I just find it interesting how distant relationships are. Like I'm just thinking of like a lot of, especially if you're both employees, like that makes, like, because not everybody does house projects and shit, or mechanical projects and shit. Like I don't do any mechanical projects really. I hate fucking mechanic shit, but house projects are kind of entertaining and fun, and there's just exponential value in them. So I see why I would want to do them, because one, you get a better living space, and two, you get more equity. Like that is fucking huge.
Well, and it makes me like I feel like the saying of like doing life together, for whatever reason it sounds super cliche to me, and like like doing, but and it truly is though. Like that's how because even when I'm thinking like, not the greatest habit and way to spend time together, but even when we watch TV, like we do that together. We watch shows together. We go to bed together. We wake up together. Like we do that.
Kind of wake up together.
Kind of wake up. I trail him a little bit, depending on the morning, 10 minutes, half an hour. But either way, like I wake up and you're still reading, I sit down and I read. Like that's the stuff that we are literally doing life together. Like, and that's why I think there becomes so much like division because we are both employees. We don't spend the majority of our days throughout the week together. We don't. I'm gone all day, you're gone all day. We get home and then that's when our like time meshes, but we also mesh that time intentionally and on the weekends. Like we spend pretty much all weekend together. Like Monday comes and I'm like, don't go to work, because we like intentionally put this time in and to spend life together, and the moments when we can't, like when we're at work throughout the week, like then we're just that much more intentional about the time outside of that.
Yeah, like I have no intention of being an employee for the rest of my life by any means. So eventually whenever we start up the next venture, obviously you'll probably be included, like whether that's doing this or that or the other thing, like I don't know what that might be, but odds are, and that might not even be immediate, but like we'll build up and then we'll eventually fucking get something different going on.
Well, and it's kind of crazy too, because this is like the first like venture or investment that I haven't been a part of. Like I have not touched anything in the Rowdy Ram, and it's so weird to really just think about it. I guess like in theory I'm like whatever, like that's cool, but I've been a part of like every other investment that needed some sort of build out of whatever, and so I'm like, oh, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. There's another thing I was gonna fucking talk about too. Let's see. Intentionally. Kind of men. I mean, it can be a women's job too, and I'm sure quite often it is, but I think it's a responsibility more of a man to find those opportunities to implement like positive habits and stuff like that to bond with your significant other or your family or your kids, whatever else. So like you say, hey, listen, I know we've been getting up at fucking 6 o'clock and I've been leaving for work at 6:30 and get at work at 7 and blah 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 blah. But I'm saying that we're gonna get up an hour early now, and now we're gonna sit down and eat breakfast together, or we're gonna go to the gym, because like even though we might not be talking to each other when we go to the gym, like it's still. It's just different, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you still have that intentional time together, even though you're not necessarily like physically speaking and connecting, but you're still connecting on a different level because of those things. So like as a man, I think it's important to like be like, okay, basically set boundaries and habits and stuff like that to like, okay, instead of, because you used to love to stay up late. You used to stay up till like fucking 10, 11 o'clock all the time, And I've always been an early riser personally, but I think there was a time where I got out of track and I was staying, up later with you, watching stupid TV shows and stuff like that. Because honestly, like, for me, like, everybody thinks I'm fucking insane for going to bed at 8 o'clock. What the fuck do you do besides watch TV after 8 o'clock? There are very few people that are actually doing something productive after 8 o'clock. I can guarantee it. If I go over to your fucking house at 8:30, I want to know what the fuck you're doing. Are you watching TV? I mean, you could be reading a book, and that's positive. You know, you could, okay, fine, that's justified, whatever else. But odds are you're just either fucking around on your phone or, you know, dicking off watching TV. I'm guilty of it. What do you think I do until 8 o'clock? You know, like, fuck. I get home typically, I don't know, 5 o'clock usually. You're, depending on the day, you know, you're there probably shortly after. We eat around typically like 6 or so, we'll say, and then we watch TV for fucking maybe 2 hours and go to bed. You know, so, like, what the fuck?
Depending on the night. Tuesdays are late, so we definitely don't watch that much TV on Tuesdays.
Yeah, and then we got yoga on other nights, so, you know,
yeah,
we
so
don't
it's really
it's
2 nights a week, maybe?
Yeah, two or
three.
three. Yeah, yep. Then we fuck off and watch TV. But, you know, and now it's probably going to be less because now we're doing yoga on Mondays instead of, I think, Fridays. I think it's going to be better for me to do yin on Monday, so I'm planning on doing it tomorrow. But, you know, so I'm trying to implement things. So I used to we go in and out of our habits, you know, and I think a lot of it has to do with my leadership and what I allow, and that might sound like fucking whatever, I don't care, but it's the truth. Like,
well, especially just for us, like, you are definitely the, like, steadfast whatever, and when you're not, I don't show up for that on my own.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yeah, and it's obviously, you know, each relationship is different. Sometimes it's the female, feminine energy that has the, you know, the more of the fiery, like, we need to fucking get this done together. I think of, like, AJ's relationship, it sounds like, you know.
Once in a while I'll surprise you. Back when we started ice baths, that was because I randomly was just like, alright.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the, outlier.
Yeah, yep. So, what was I just talking about?
Whether you allow things in your leadership and fluctuating.
Yeah, yep. So, you know, like, sometimes, because we've gone through points where, like, we don't fucking watch TV, like, hardly at all, and then we go through times that we watch TV a shit ton, you know, and we go through, like, hitting the gym consistently, because if I'm not hitting the gym consistently, you're not hitting the gym at all. That's how it goes.
Aye!
Like, if I don't fucking hit the gym, you're not going to hit the gym. Like, you know, the only reason you typically go down is because I go down. You're like, you know, you're always, which is fine. If that's the relationship that, you know, then you're aware, like, then I need to know that I need to fucking uphold myself better if I'm the one setting the standard. You know what I mean? And so that's another, you know, that's another thing on the team. It's just a bigger generalization of, like, the concept of roles in the team, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Even, like, as the captain, like, there's just more on your shoulders naturally.
Yeah.
Like, there just is.
You know,
and that's how we operate. Like, that's the dynamics. We know that. Like.
Yeah. So, you know, like, and then it also takes, you know, a specific role for you to accept the decision that was made. Like, no, we're not going out to eat today. Or, no, we are going to the gym today. You know, and obviously I'm not a dick, typically, like, in those instances, because you, like, you know, sometimes, like, you're ill or whatever, you're just not feeling it or whatever else.
Well, even like this morning, like, I knew in my head I was going to go because I needed to. It's been a minute, but you got up and got your shoes on and I was still just, like, laying there and you're like, gonna go to the gym today? I was like,
oh. I guess that's nice. So get your fucking ass off.
You definitely didn't. It was
probably.
Like, gonna hit the gym today? Something like that.
No, it was probably something a little more aggressive and fun.
It was not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No, it was literally like, gonna hit the gym today? You gonna go to the gym today?
Your fucking ass off.
No, it wasn't! You're not.
I'm
anyway.
pretty sure. You're just, what do they call that? You just said that one girl, the disassociation.
Dissociating.
Dissociating, there you go.
If that was the case, I wouldn't have even heard you.
No, you're just changing what I
moving on. Be a team player. hungry. Ew, my lips are really chapped.
This is so unprofessional. Just calm down. All right.
When has this ever been super professional?
Well, I'm
Looks like
saying
I
a
was
standard.
I was just doing something really weird. I was like,
Lines of coke.
my nose itches.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean the concept of being a fucking team player, like, I mean there's so many different keys to marriage, communication, being a team player, the overall like concept of like changing and willing to accept change and growth and stuff like that. But like this is definitely a core in our I don't know, relationship in general. A highly recommended piece of the puzzle, like it's for me, like marriage really isn't that fucking hard, like I think it's hard to have and I shouldn't even say hard. I think it's challenging at times to have a highly passionate relationship, and everything else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like getting along and just having a good relationship, I feel like it's not that fucking hard. Like there's just there's a couple key foundations. Be a team player, whatever that means to you. And then communication. Like don't fucking withhold anything. Like whatever that might be, like don't withhold, because withholding causes these, fucking unnecessary friction. So, and you might even not, because there might be something that I'm withholding and like you can feel it or something, or maybe you can't feel it and I can feel it, like, and that's causing a disconnect in our relationship, so.
Or I can feel it because I can always feel you.
Can't feel shit.
A lot of the time. I do. So I'm like, you can't lie to me. You want to lie to yourself, that's fine. Like on days when I'm like, what's your deal? You got a problem? I don't have a problem. I'm fine. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, you want to lie to yourself, that's fine. But I can feel you.
You fucking done.
I guess.
Good.
Does it make you mad that I can feel you?
That's not this type of show, dear.
Doesn't even make any sense.
Oh. Anyways, so yeah, I think that's about it pretty much, because, yeah. Be a fucking team player. Be willing to, invite your family, whether that's your spouse or your kids, into your life, as a man. Bring your kids to fucking work. Bring your kids on projects that you've got. Just make it a fucking team thing, because there's just so many benefits to it.
And again, I recognize that, like, if you have a job where you can't bring your wife or you can't bring your kids, like, that does exist. So again, though, being intentional with your time outside of that job, making that as much as, like, team-oriented stuff as possible.
Yeah, because we do even, like, snowboarding and snowmobiling and, whatever that might be. And it's not like, I go fucking play golf and then you sit at home.
Which I was thinking about this because I'm reading a book on codependency. Like, obviously there's a fine line between, like, you have hobbies and things that you enjoy together and then being codependent. So just throwing that out there. We don't necessarily need to go down that rabbit hole, but...
Maybe we do need to go down that rabbit hole.
In another episode, sure.
So yeah, like, whatever it might be, and I'm not saying, we're not saying, like, everything has to be 100% fucking hunky-dory as far as, bringing your kids to golf and shit, because, like, obviously you might need that time away or whatever, but, like, we naturally, I think it's naturally, I don't even think we really intentionally do it, but, like, we do yoga together. We do fucking snowmobiling together. We do lifting together. We do so much shit together. There's not a lot of time for us to be fucking disconnected. And even if we are disconnected, we're still within the same,
I think that
vicinity.
That kind of makes me think about, like, because we also have that, like, friendship piece. Like, if you're going to go snowboarding, like, I would be like, don't leave me, like, I want to go with you, because I also enjoy doing that, like, or, snowmobiling, like, yeah, it's just like that friendship is also there. So it's not just like, oh, I'm attached to you, I can never leave you, like, you don't go do this thing without me. It's like, we enjoy this and we want to hang out and, like...
Get fucked up.
Hi.
Oh, shit. If you're watching this on video, you can see my fucking shit's all fucked up. My pants. It's because of drywall and I'm too lazy to go change my shit, so you get the real life me. So.
And you saw our kitty and Cicely.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you fucked that up.
I did. Don't make eye contact. We're wrapping it up
late.
anyway.
Alright. So, yeah. If you enjoyed the podcast and you know somebody that needs to see it as far as has a shitty relationship, please feel free to share the this relationship episode.
Not that ours is perfect, but I
we
think
should do couples coaching based off of your master's degree.
Definitely figured some stuff out.
How did that work?
I mean,
would just be a sit-in.
You just... Yeah, that'd be interesting. But I was just thinking, because we could just call it more like coaching, but then my degree would just make it look fancy.
Yeah.
Like Andrea, the therapist, and her straightforward a-hole husband will coach you.
That's what I want to rename this thing, like the fucking, what I would say, like the social worker and the dumbass, or something like that.
Anyway,
go follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and now we're on Anchor, which I think is that's just the fucking recording thing I think I use. So I think
Spotify then, right?
Yeah, you can go to Spotify. I think you can shove it up to a bunch of them. Shut the fuck up. So yeah. Anyways, we're on Spotify now too. If you don't want to dick around with YouTube. So yeah. Hopefully I'm doing it right. I have to figure out how to separate our first 3 episodes on the one because I didn't know what I was doing for the first 3 episodes and I didn't know I was doing that until something happened. But anyways, yeah, that's it. All right, see you guys.
Bye.